Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Mondays with Mindy. Hello and good morning, Mindy.
Hello and good morning, Christian. Today we are going to gab with costume designer extraordinaire, Cristina Spiridakis.
Nice.
Christina is Emmy nominated, received her BFA in apparel design from the prestigious Rhode Island School of Design in 2002, and has worked her way up to learn every part of her craft. With a career ranging from TV series to small independent films to major motion pictures, she has experienced costume design at every budget level and enjoys the challenging and problem-solving skills each project presents, but most of all, enjoys building characters and using clothing as a means of visual storytelling. Christina built her career as the assistant costume designer on shows such as Saturday Night Live, Mr. Robot, Orange is the New Black, Limitless, and Ang Lee's Gemini Man. I met and had the privilege of working with her when she was the lead costume designer for an indie film called A Nice Girl Like You. From that film, she went on to do many more projects, including designer for the HBO series High Maintenance. And most recently, she was the costume designer for the FX pilot The Bear, season 2 of HBO's critically acclaimed series Betty, as well as the series Dash and Lily for Netflix, for which she received a Daytime Emmy nomination. She is currently in New Orleans shooting her latest project, but she's actually based in New York City, but she will be there for the next 6 months shooting the reboot of Queer as Folk.
Wow, amazing. I am excited to meet her and get to know her. Ladies and gentlemen, we're excited to have her in the show, Cristina Spiridakis. Hello, Christina.
You told me the moment it was going to turn on, and I took that
moment. Love it. Yes.
It's okay.
I feel like there's an introduction to me as a person. That's it. That's pretty much all you need.
Oh, thank God. And thank God for you, girl. So we're going to do a deep dive as we always do. And just Christian and I came up with 20 questions. I pull 5. We just start gabbing, and then we'll get into the whole creative process and such. All right. Christina, among your friends, what are you best known for?
I would say I would like to think, being a good friend and being there for my friends. I think I'm like an epic empath, almost to a fault. And because we travel so much, I try my hardest to stay in touch with all my friends. So when I can, I'll be on the phone for like hours or texting with people. That's why Instagram is so important. But I think probably, for being a good and loyal friend.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great trait.
What is the last thing you binged on?
The Jenna Lyons reality show on HBO Max.
I did it.
I'm such a whore for any kind of reality competition show that involves like fashion, styling, whatever. The hype on HBO Max is amazing. If you haven't watched it yet, about the streetwear designers.
Yes.
It's just like legit and interesting and like really cutting edge. But yeah, I can't help it. If I'm especially I feel like right now there's a lot of external negativity in the world, if you will. And I just I like watching other people create. Like anybody else, I'll yell at the screen sometimes. Just like, what do you mean you can't sew?
Right. What are you doing there?
What are you doing on this show if you can't sew?
Yes.
All right.
Who is your celebrity crush?
My always and forever, no judges.
No.
Back tattoo notwithstanding. Probably forever Ben Affleck.
I knew where you were going instantly with the tattoo.
It's Ben Affleck in the town, man. I can't help it. it.
Oh, yeah.
I went to college in Rhode Island. Maybe it's like a New England thing. I don't know. But yeah, Ben Affleck.
No, you don't have to explain your choices to us. No judgment zone for sure.
And Adam Driver. It's a twofer. It's either Ben Affleck or Adam Driver. But yeah, either.
Nice.
Okay.
I'm a little borderline obsessed with Adam Driver, so
it's impossible not to be.
Down. I think so. How do you unwind and unplug? Okay, so this is a twofer because I'd like to know how you unwind and unplug when you're on location working, and how you unwind and unplug in your life in New York.
On location, it's definitely. I think wherever I am, a lot of times for me, it's actually like fitness, to be honest. Like my bicycle,
Okay.
I'm obsessed with my bicycle. It will come to New Orleans. And if it's not that, indoor cycling, like I can turn off my phone, and it's one of the few things I don't let people mess with. It's just like, I tried, like, I guess what people consider traditional meditation so many times, because I am an extremely nonlinear thinker.
Yes.
I do believe being a person with like some forms of ADHD is what makes me a good designer and a good manager and a person that does a bunch of things. But I traditional meditation isn't for me. Whatever meditative state happens when I'm like in spin or riding my bike, that's like where I get my best ideas. It's where I feel like I can like center myself and like ground myself. And so that no matter where, that's like, I will always, even in New Orleans, I've already found sort of where the spots are nearest to my new apartment. I chose somewhere that's bikeable. Especially when we're working, I need that. I need that time, because you can't say to people, "Oh, I couldn't pick up. I was on a bicycle." Like, that's really dangerous. So,
and what are they going to say? Like, you're taking care of yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, I was biking there. I didn't hear it. But that's in both places. But at home, it's definitely like my sewing projects and craft projects and just kind of have so much clothing in this house. There's just clothing everywhere, and I'm attached to all of, like, I'm a little bit of a emotional clothing hoarder, and it's hard for me to detach from it. But then sometimes I'll just look at something and I'll just be like, oh, this is going to be so much better. Like, I'm just going to tear the arms off this jacket I've had for 20 years, or like embroider something or paint something on it or sew something. Cause I just, crafting brings me real joy, just like real deal, like joy in my heart.
Well, I have to say, you have one of the most spectacular shoe collections. And I'm not talking what normal people would call, and I'm talking like normal bougie people would call a shoe collection, but your array of vintage shoes and just what you have, but it's so good. It is truly the best part of a day of working with Christina is looking down and seeing what shoes she's wearing. I'm just saying.
Thank you, Mindy. I really, honestly, one of the best compliments ever, because I've reached critical mass with my shoe collection, and it's one of the only things that never gets purged. I can't do it until they fall apart. I had a cobbler once. A production assistant took a pair of boots of mine to leather spa, and she called me and she was like, he wants to know what you did to them. And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like, he said he's never seen the internal structure of a shoe like twisted. And I was like, well, I walk miles in them. They were like these beautiful pair of Prada boots that I still think about like to this day. They were just unsavable. Like, we had to like put them to rest in the shoe graveyard.
Sad. So sad.
My sister gave me her pair in a different color. So at least, I'm not totally alone.
Oh my gosh. There it is. What's your favorite place to travel to? Do you have one?
I've been doing a lot of traveling in the last couple
you
years.
have.
And I would say Spain. I went when we wrapped Gemini Man in Budapest. Actually, you know what? No, taking it back. Cartagena, Colombia. We shot there for Gemini Man. So it wasn't a vacation per se, but I had never been to Colombia and I didn't really know much about it.
Yes.
And I think if you talk to anybody on the movie who did the whole beginning to end, all the units, I think anybody would tell you that Colombia was their favorite. I've never felt heat like that in my life. I've never walked out of an airport and been like, I can't breathe due to the humidity. So once you acclimate to it, our most enthusiastic crew, the kindest people, so beautiful. The food was amazing. My mother is Dominican. And so but English is my first language and my Spanish is okay-ish. But like my crew and I there, like they helped me like learn Spanish and I would speak English with them. And by the end of the job, I just felt so like beloved of Colombian culture and Colombia and the people that I met there. And so I'm kind of dying to go back and go to Bogota and go to Medellin, like when we can actually travel again. But Colombia was amazing. It was just so cool.
I have to say, when we went to South America, and we did Peru, but I have to say it was not on my top 10 list. But now, of course, I want to visit every single other country, including Colombia. I heard they're all vastly different, which obviously I understand that. But that region is so not tapped when you think about living in America, where we all used to think of dreaming of going. And now it's like every country's on my top 10.
Yeah, I feel like there were so many amazing things about doing Gemini Man. Like that was a really next level experience for me. But I'd never worked out of the country. So that in general was so cool. But I hadn't traveled at that point in a few years, just because I was like in a point in my career where I was working all the time, like just constantly, and then had decided that I wanted to design and not assist anymore. So I also just like financially wasn't able to travel. And then when Gemini Man came up, although it was an assistant design position, which I was trying to move away from, it was something like nobody just says to you like, hey, do you want to come work on this Ang Lee movie with this technology that nobody else uses, and you're going to shoot in 4 countries around. And do you want to just like leave for 7 months and travel the world and make a movie? And you're just like, yeah, sure. When do I leave? This was like a Wednesday. They're like, when do you leave? We need you in Savannah on Sunday. I was like, great.
Oh my God. Wow.
Great. I'll be there.
Wow.
But it really, we traveled, me and one of my friends traveled like extensively after we wrapped. And I went to Greece to see my family. And then we went to see Maceo Parker in Spain. And then we drove through France, and then we drove all over Spain, and then reluctantly came home like on the very last possible day that we could still be in Europe on our visa. But it just, it reminded me how much I love to travel and how exciting it is to like go somewhere else and just try. Like I didn't pick up any Hungarian, which hurts me because I can still remember the 15 words of French that I learned when I studied there in 2001. But Hungarian confounded me. Like I couldn't, and I'm like ashamed of it that when I went to Hungary, it was the only place where I didn't pick up like 10 basic words.
Those languages are very challenging. Yeah.
I would like to try again.
Yeah. Same. I'll go with you. Thanks for playing.
Please. I'm in.
I thought about bringing you on to Mondays with Mindy because we talk about creatives, and I realized you are, in the last 5 years, one of the most creative people I'd ever worked with in my life, and
thank you,
treated costume design the way that at least actors feel about it, which is it's so helpful. And I love that aspect of, visual storytelling, and the use of not just clothes, but to help create characters. And I don't think enough attention is put on it from a production aspect. The relationship, obviously between, and you hear these at award shows, but the relationship between a costume designer and the actors is usually very close. But as a producer, I have to say, it's so necessary. It's like a production designer. It's like a prop master. I mean, it's so necessary. And if you have a good one, I think what's interesting is there's so many people who aren't really artists that are in costume design that just kind of buy clothes and they're really great, like stylist, but a designer where you really help breathe life into a character. So I want to talk to you about that. What led you to want to do this? And let's start there. What is your creative process as you define it? I'll say.
I'm going to tell a very truncated version of this story because but it is one of my favorite stories ever. I went to school for fashion design. I got out of school. Right. I just didn't click. Like it just didn't click with me. And so then I kind of sort of fell into working in advertising for a while, and I was a producer. And it's one of those things where people say just because you're good at something doesn't mean you should do it. I was a very good producer, but we went to a RISD alumni event, and I guess like people were asking me like, how are you? And I was just like just basically the next day, my best friend, she's been my best friend since I was 5, called me, and she's like, okay, you're a miserable person and we need to do something about it. And I was like, oh my God. She's like, how are you? Is a rhetorical question. Just say like, I'm great. How are you? So I just kind of realized like, oh, I have to make a change. I took a costume design course at the new school, and my teacher got offered a tier 1, like a period film up in Cape Cod. And she was allowed to bring 3 of the students as like PAs and interns. And she announced it and I freaked out about it. And then I really had expected her to ask me to go. And I went up to her and I was like, Mimi, I really want to do this. And she was like, well, you have a full-time job. And it just came out of my mouth. I was like, well, I'll quit my job. I hadn't planned on saying it. It's just, I took this course and I just like knew, I was like, oh, this is the thing. Like, I love clothes, but in college, it was always your work is too costumey, like all of this stuff. Like, I just wasn't a fashion designer, but I didn't know, I just didn't know that was a thing.
Another option.
Yeah. And I had always wanted to go to RISD. And so that was just kind of, I think I just didn't even look beyond the fact that like, I've wanted to go to the school since I was 13 and like, this is where I'm going to go. So yeah, I quit my job. She was like, I need somebody who has a car. I was like, I have a car. I didn't have a car. I just lied. I rented one. Mimi Maxman, if you're out there, I lied to you to get this job.
I love
it. Yeah, lied straight up.
I mean, who of us hasn't?
Honestly, I wanted it. I wanted it that badly. And that's the line. Great. I rented a car. It's not that complicated. Because I was also 28. It wasn't like, I'd been working for 6 years already. Actually, I graduated college at 21. So 7 years. And I just felt something different. And we got up there. I said to her, I'll work for you every day after work and the weekends, but I have to give my boss 2 weeks notice. So it was exactly what I did. I gave her all of my free time for research, for everything. And then we had a couple weeks prep here. And then we went up to the Cape. And I knew after day 1, I was like, I don't know what I've been doing the last 7 years.
Yeah,
this is all I want to do. And then I came back to New York, just like really, just like focused on it. All my contacts were in Massachusetts, but I read in People magazine that Julia Roberts was doing Eat, Pray, Love. Like, I saw a paparazzi photo. I couldn't tell you how I did this. I somehow got the number for their production office. Couldn't do it now. If you asked me to do this now, I'd be like, how do I do that? But I found it and eventually got hooked up with their costume department and interviewed and got a job there. And just like fiercely threw myself into doing this and was very fortunate, have worked for some of the most incredible designers that I feel like have taken the time to like teach. They took time to teach me and my fellow PAs and my fellow assistants. And I feel really grateful for that. And I think it's something that I'm trying to pay forward as a designer now with the people that I work with and with my crews.
Well, what's interesting about this career you have and just doing it is a lot of people, you're a creative, but you also have to you're a manager of people. I mean, you manage a whole department. You have to budget a whole department. You have to answer to not just producers, but studio and the people you're dressing. It is a tremendous amount. So I'm assuming that you, having come from a production background, has helped in the management part of this job.
It just knowing, because you also, I also, and I feel like this is something, you get better and better about, but I also am no stranger to what things cost and the idea of it's not just this. And then a bunch of my good friends are producers. So there's even been times where I did a lot of like tabletop stuff. So when I engaged with talent, it was like parts models, but like there's a lot of stuff that I just don't know. So sometimes I will ask my producer friends, even about labor, about things. I'm like, this is what I'm asking for. I know what I think it costs. You tell me, so that I know that what I'm asking for. So, because I feel like, unfortunately,
is reasonable.
Yeah, because you have to know what you're dealing with. And I also, that way, when I ask for something, I know what's behind it. And I pride myself and my assistant designer, Courtney, both of us like very much on being resourceful, creative solutions. And only asking for what we need, because I think coming from an independent film background, what's possible. There's there is a hard transition to make when you actually do have money to spend that I am still grappling with, where Courtney has literally stopped me. I love making things for my shows. I do it because I love it, and I do it because I enjoy it. But there is a certain point in one's career where you have to say, like, I worked 100 hours this week. Do I have time to make a dress for a drag queen? I don't think I do. Right. Also, do I have the money to pay someone to do it better? And I just come from this place of loving to create, but I think that I've found a good balance of, Sarah Timberlake Studios did the drag dress for us for Dash and Lily. And every time we look at it, Courtney's like, you couldn't have made that dress. But I'm like, oh, I'm well aware that I couldn't have made that dress, but I really wanted to. But that's also part of the process for me, is like, I love, I think every designer, I think to say that you can design anything, like any type of show, sure, anybody can do anything, but I think there are some people that excel at certain things. And I have no problem saying that, like period isn't my gift. Like, it's not what I do. It's not how I think. Like, the things that I love to do are like super, super, super character-based projects. Designing.
Well, having said that, you
also,
my life. Having said that, you have also started to make a name for yourself, may I add, in being the costume designer for a cast of thousands. I mean, what you have had to do on High Maintenance and Betty alone, it's like the job of 10.
Oh, it's wild.
Some of these
wild.
I mean, I just can't. Well, I should say I can imagine you doing it because I know your energy level and your work ethic, but it really is very unique. And I know so many amazing designers that I've worked with in my career that could not handle that kind of volume and that kind of differentiation of character. And again, necessary, because these shows, so much of the character is what they're wearing and how they move through the world and what they look like, right?
I think I always felt this way. Like, I always loved the like really the idea of getting into like the small details, and especially because I've done a lot of comedy, and comedy is all about the details, like the smallest thing that like may or may not be funny, or like somebody's going to catch, like even, I don't know if it's like, I can't come up with a specific example, but what makes comedy relatable is when people, any character, but like really can see themselves in something, or if you can visually like accentuate or make something up, but still have it be believable. And that designing High Maintenance, I think, changed my entire approach and my entire design aesthetic for a couple of reasons. I've been a huge fan of the show, like, for years. And that interview, like getting that job was just,
oh my God, it's ground. I mean, I just have to say, amazing.
I freaked out.
But it was the job for you. I mean, if ever there was a costume designer who needed to be like a streetwear person, it's you.
I loved, we did this first round of fittings that Courtney and I were very pleased with. And then we got back like so many notes. It was children. It was the first day that we were shooting, and prepping the show was always crazy because the cast is so big, and it was our first season doing it. And I think the work of the designers that came before me was so beautiful. I really wanted to do justice to what they had started. And it was one of those things where Courtney and I were just like, oh, like, you got the notes. And then I was like, wait a minute. Why do I love this show? What makes this show special to me? And it's all of these little things. And that comes from Katya and Ben 100%, is their dedication to those types of details.
They're geniuses.
It's really amazing. We would get these incredible like character dossiers, and like working with them was really special. And then also from a sustainability perspective, 90% of that show is shop consignment and thrift and small designers.
Amazing.
Like, one, because we don't have the capability to gauge all of that stuff, but also because I don't know why it's just better. I don't know how to describe why it's so much more fun to buy a ludicrous amount of stuff from Beacon's Closet and just have a truck full of nonsense and like dressed somebody. Because we would do 90% of the fittings on a day also, which is unheard of.
Crazy. Yeah.
Mind blowing.
to shift from that to when we left and then go to Dash and Lily, which is,
oh my gosh, you've got
maintain the-
budgets and yeah.
and then, but just even like, oh wait, but also like to switch to it's stylized and characterized,
Yes.
but also like there's the high maintenance version of a look, and then there's like the stylized TV version of a look. And sometimes Courtney and I would have to be like, okay, wait, hold on a second. This is some high maintenance shit. Like we took this, we took this like 3 steps too far, where like you can just get wild and do anything. And that process was really exciting. But I think doing that show, I still try to do that as much as possible. I learned lessons on Dash and Lily about how everything can't be vintage, even when it should be. Yes. And I had the greatest wardrobe team on the planet, that everything, most of Lily's stuff, 90% of her stuff was one of a kind. Some of it I made myself because I'm a horrible person to my crew. Like, no, there were just things, and I did learn, I think, important lessons about when you can't do that.
When you can't do it. Yeah.
I also think it paid off. That show looks the way that it does because so much of it is thrifted, or things that we made or put together, or just kind of
but
like
you know,
modeled.
You're not going to talk about yourself this way, thank God, because you're you. But I mean, that is the skill of a costume designer too, and your eye and your aesthetic. And I mean, I'm so curious what inspires you, or who inspires you on a daily basis, or just in general. When I ask that question, like who or what are your inspirations?
I feel like I am so my most of my inspirations. There's so much of my own like life reference in my work. Meaning, like I do all of my research for my projects. Almost all of it comes from Instagram, because I do want that realness. Like when the rabbit holes that you can fall down, the brands you can find, like it's just crazy. Yep. But I also feel like I'm constantly like either the movies of my childhood or the people that I grew up with or experiences that I have. Like, I feel like that ends up speaking to me. I just think about like this was, can't remember what show it was we were doing, but there was one character and I got upset because I wanted to dress him exactly like, I have a photo of this kid I went to high school with at like a sweet 16. And it's the strangest outfit you've ever seen. It's like this weird vest and like a collarless shirt, but it's New Jersey in the 90s. And I just remember being like, no, but this is what I want. And they were just like, that's not out in the world. It's the outfit's wild. But in my head, I was like, but that's the thing. And I can get, I'm flexible about so many things. I'll literally be like, don't care. Do that one, do whatever it is. And then every once in a while, there'll be one thing. And Courtney's like, you're hell bent on this one. I'm like, this is the thing. God, find the thing.
You know it. Listen, I mean, all creatives, right? We get stubborn. You get stuck on something and you have to do it, period. And, you know, my opinion is that's why they hired you. I mean, right? For you.
I hope so. Yeah, I would hope so. And I do, the thing that you said about being a producer is that I also do really pride myself on really knowing what things are going to cost, because ultimately, like, it is my art. It's very much my art, but this is a business. Like I'm running a business, basically.
You are.
And as much as I get to exist, I get paid every day to do what I love, and no day is the same. And I feel very fortunate. It's fine and good to say that I'm going to keep being hired back for my creative ability and whatever it is. That's great. And I'd like to believe that hopefully, you know, that comes, you have the type of freedom that like Anne Roth has, or Colleen Atwood, like those people.
Yes.
I don't have that. So what I can do is visually deliver what they want from me. Like, for not necessarily for the amount of money they gave me, meaning like being able to tell them, this is what this is going to cost. Here are creative solutions. Let's do this. Like, I think it's important because ultimately, yes, like I said, it's my art, and I get, it is very personal to me. The shows are very personal to me. All of the characters, I can usually tell you, like, people still send me DMs about things on Gemini Man. And like, I remember where everything came from. Like,
amazing.
It's all personal to me, but I also do recognize there is a business side of this, and I can I can make the most beautiful costumes in the world, but when it comes down to it, you know, a line producer is going to ask another line producer, and they're going to find out, yeah, it looks spectacular, but that person was what, $100,000 over budget.
Over budget,
and
yeah.
they don't want to mess with that, and so
Right.
I like that. I find that part to be, sometimes it's annoying, but it's a good challenge also, you know.
Yeah.
I show, like, because Betty, High Maintenance, even Dash and Lily, like, these aren't huge budget productions. And I was fortunate on all three of them, much like Nice Girl, just to have like wonderful producers and directors and people that want to solve problems with you.
Yeah.
And people that understand. This is what I loved about working with Chris and Nick on the movie that Mindy and I did together, is like people that understand. Crystal Mosel and Betty is like this. This is our, okay, we want this. Here are all the reasons why we can't do it. So let's talk about options B through D.
What we
How
can
do we do that?
Right.
What can we afford? What can we make happen? Establishing this trust that when I tell you, I will never say no to anybody. But when I tell you, like, all right, y'all, this isn't happening, it's because my team has sat down and we've looked at every option and every idea in our timeline and our budget, whatever it is. And so I think that I've been really lucky up until now. Even on the smaller projects, I feel like I've had such collaborative and like sort of visionary directors and producers that will sit down and have a conversation with you. Yeah. And I feel very fortunate in that way. Because even the hard ones, Betty and High Maintenance are there. I mean, that is
dream
just
team.
difficult. Yeah, it's just hard shows, but I love my team, and I love that the people who we made the shows with, I never felt gaslit by anybody, I guess is the way to put it. I never really felt like somebody was like, no, but this is just a t-shirt and jeans show. And I'm like, that's not a thing.
Right.
I did make one once though, that literally was just a t-shirt and jeans show. Doesn't mean it's still not complicated. You try finding the perfect t-shirt. Takes a minute.
That's right. Oh no. Or the perfect
jeans.
No, I get it. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. So totally different subject, but what designer are you like gaga over right now? Or are you? Are you a kind of obsessed with anybody au courant or a collection?
Forever. Heidi Bevins forever. Oh, costume design or fashion design? Because costume design idol Heidi Bevins forever and ever. I have been doing. I feel like what we've done on the last couple of shows is try to look at smaller designers, like really, especially on Betty. I've been really excited about the kind of like tinier makers that you find on Instagram. We had a woman make this corset for us on Betty called the Label Ray. And it's just like kind of remnant material, upcycled, these beautiful corsets. She makes incredible stuff. I love Cristina Spiridakis, which I know lots of people do, but I've just been enjoying like just finding like little weird brands, but have also always and forever in my personal life am a whore for Rachel Comey, like an absolute whore. I mean, it's really in the shoe collection, like Mindy, it's disgusting. It's actually disgusting.
No,
and I'm in there sometimes and I'm just like, I'm holding them all like mule babies. And I'm just like, this is it. Because when I took that, Chris Rydell sent me this like internet personality test. And no matter how many times I took it, I was at 89 to 94% match with Carrie Bradshaw, no matter what. And I was like,
God, that's so funny.
Next level.
It's hysterical and so appropriate. I mean, I get it.
I'm just accepting it. I'm just accepting
listen,
it.
I know you're about to embark on this, mega long and what will be a very exhausting show, the reboot of Queer as Folk. However, do you have an aspirational something? Is there a goal? Is there a kind of movie or project that you want to be doing?
Do you really want to know?
I do.
Yes.
I want to do a real, and I went through this whole thing before telling you guys I don't do like major period. That being said, I have two.
Okay.
I would like to design the adaptation of Sweet Valley High, but like as the books were written, like actually looks like the 80s. The eyebrows are right.
Come on.
Eyebrows. Makeup, eyebrows, clothes, like And the thing is, does the world need this? I don't think the world needs the story about like, you know, two blonde twins in California and how hard their lives are. That
Right.
being said, from a perspective of, I just want to design like 1980s nonsense,
Yes.
Sweet Valley High.
Understand.
Then also, and again,
I lived it.
referential
Yes.
books of my youth. I loved Christopher Pike books more than anything. And love. I have Remember Me on my bookshelf because one day when I wasn't working, I was like, I'm going to write this script adaptation. I'm going to do it. This did not happen. It's like, but I love, it's such a ridiculous story and his books are ridiculous, but like, I know it's like, I would love to do, crappy adaptations of books that I loved in the 80s.
I love that. I mean, obviously I'm an 80s baby, so yeah. And who would you like to costume design for? I'm not talking whether it be producer, director, actor. Who's in your list of tops that you want to work with or for?
Oh, wow. I loved Promising Young Woman. I would have loved to have done that movie. I would like to work with.
Oh, you would have hit that out of the park.
I loved it. I loved the costumes in Promising Young Woman. I just loved it as a thing. And something does happen when you do television, and I understand it, but it's you. Yeah. You become a TV designer and people will say, oh, like studios are like, you can't design a feature. And you're like, I just cross-boarded 10 episodes and haven't slept in 3 months. I can design a feature film. But it's like, when I would love to do a movie like that. It's so stylized, so interesting. I loved that script. It was the first movie I saw back in theaters. My friends and I went to the Nighthawk and saw Promising Young Woman, and I think I could have watched it like 10 times in a row. So I would love to work with Emerald Fennell. I think that would just be I loved everything about that movie. It lit me up. A movie hadn't lit me up in a really long time. Very
I've got
much
a question.
So.
I've got a question for you, Christina. Yeah. This goes back a little bit because I keep thinking about it as we're talking about your progression and all these kind of major things that you've tackled. And you sort of touched on the fact that you do like a little binge on reality TV and such. Before you made the decision to quit the job and rent the car and had sort of this career epiphany, this, like, I'm trying to do the timing in my head and I'm thinking this is like the season of when like Project Runway was huge on television. Like all these shows were really, really big in the sphere of creating clothing and designing and fashion and stuff. Did it ever cross your mind, or did you ever think like maybe I should throw myself onto one of those and see what happens? Or was that like not even a thought?
Know, it wasn't really a thought because I really did know that I didn't want to do fashion. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I didn't want to do it. And I think so I'm very grateful for how much, like so much has changed since I graduated college 20 years ago. But even just being, when I got out of college, like even being like overweight in the fashion industry felt really prohibitive to like what I wanted to do. And I really did feel like I was in a space that wasn't like welcoming or comfortable. And that made me not want to do it. And so I didn't feel like any type of pull to do one of those shows. It doesn't mean that I didn't sit on the couch and again be like,
of course,
really, you can't sew? Like, what are you doing?
Of course, what we talked about,
but I did know that I did know that like I wanted so much more, if that's a way to put it, and like, but I also didn't.
Well, I'll take it back if I can please interrupt you. I mean, I'm speaking for you. What else is new? In that you are a fashion designer and a designer because you create clothes. Having said that, you really are a visual storyteller. You really are meant to be doing what you're doing. From an actor who's worked with you, and praise that I get to work with you numerous times over the course of our careers. Because you are truly my favorite. I say that to anyone and everyone who asks me. That is a whole different animal, what you're doing.
Yeah.
To fashion. I mean, it's clothes, and that's the beginning, middle, and end of it. It's so different. So
I like the idea of the influence. Like, I like
Yeah.
that people are starting to talk about it now with this situation with Cruella and just, you know, and things like that. It's like you go out on Halloween and it's like people are dressed up as anybody you've seen, any movie character, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that it's something we talk a lot about within the designers that I know, and just in the general, the greater conversation that's happening right now about equity, and
Yes.
just meaning that because costume design is traditionally a position held by women and gay men and people within the queer community, that
Yeah.
we are just, you know, we're marginalized, and people, you know, I've had, and I have worked in this now, like things have been better in the 12 years that I've been in the industry, but
Yeah.
I've had people say wild things to me. I've heard of stories of people saying to designers, why do I need to pay you to do something my wife can do?
Right.
And it's really, yeah,
No,
I think it's really
I think
hard.
it's so interesting. I think every industry, I mean, I can say my actor friends and I are always like, why are actors sometimes asked to act for free? Is the grip being paid? Is the makeup artist being paid? Why aren't you paying the actors? Like, so it's what people don't know. And I think in your part of the production, so many times the budgets are slashed. They go first to costume design, or they go for, you know, there's no sense of what everyone really, really does to create this thing. So I really appreciate that. I'm so excited about what's happening for you, with you, whatever. And I can't wait to see the new season of Queer as Folk. You will definitely be creating looks that people will completely copy and need. I know that to be true. And I adore you. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode.
This was such a joy, and I miss you. When do I get to see you again? Too. Hopefully soon.
We will.
It was nice to meet you, Christian.
It was great meeting you, ladies and gentlemen, and what a wonderful conversation we just had. One big round of applause for Cristina Spiridakis. Thank you. This episode of Mondays with Mindy is brought to you in part by our sponsors, When by Chaz Dean and The Cocktail Party, Love Mary. Chaz Dean redefined the industry with his innovative line of When cleansing conditioners, creating an entirely new way to care for your hair. Today, When encompasses a full array of cruelty-free hair and skincare products for every hair and skin type. Visit chazdean.com or mondayswithmindy.com and start focusing on you while they take care of the rest. Tired of cooking? Love fancy hors d'oeuvres but don't have any idea how to prepare? Look no further. The Cocktail Party, Love Mary, is here. For 15 years, New York's caterer to the stars and our pal Mary Giuliani has served her deliciously whimsical hors d'oeuvres to the best names in art, fashion, and entertainment. Now she's put them all in an adorable little box to send from her heart to your home. As Mary says, all you have to do is turn on your oven, pour yourself a drink, and enjoy more time with your guests. She'll take care of the rest. Go to marygiuliani.com or mondayswithmindy.com for more information and to order yours today.